Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. And besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fan fiction it inspires. I'm Kasey.
I'm Sandra, and we're joined by an amazing author who doesn't have a single lemon in her AO3 library of work, even though she goes by Fictionallemons. Lemons has been posting fanfic on AO3 since 2014 for fandoms like Sherlock and the Mission Impossible franchise. Her jump into supernatural storytelling started in 2019, and almost 100 fics later, she shows no sign of hopping off the SPN train anytime soon. We are thrilled to get the opportunity to chat about writing and our beloved boys with her. So thank you for joining us and welcome to the podcast, Lemons.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, awesome.
Woo,
awesome.
Thank you.
I've got to say right off the bat, we were already interested in talking to you. Then you dropped a bomb on me, Lemons. And I was like, oh, you're kidding me. So I just want to talk about it now. You are a published romance author.
Yes, I am.
I was so excited. I was like, yay. Because I've got it.
I know you are too.
Yeah. I was so excited to talk to you because once I found that out, and like I said, Kasey had been like, I've read her stuff. It's really good. And again, like we'll get into the ins and outs of like, what you write about and different things like that. But when I started reading, and I think the very first one I read, which I think is going to be my favorite one that you've probably ever written, Leaving Las Vegas, I just felt the romance in it. Like I felt the romancy author vibe. I was just like, oh, this is a thing. I'm going to like this thing. This is going to be a good thing. So I just wanted to get it out there. I've been very impressed, and I've gone through a lot of your stuff like within a short amount of time. And it's just lovely. And you've also been a really wonderful commenter before this. And I wanted to just kind of show my appreciation for that because I know you've read a lot of things that I write that I don't think are maybe necessarily your bag, but you write and you comment and you kudos. And I think that's so very important for fellow authors, readers, writers of fan fiction to keep doing, because I think that keeps people going. And we'll get into all that. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your interest in supernatural with us. I think it's been lovely.
Thanks. I could not agree more about the commenting and kudos thing. When I first got into AO3, when I first discovered AO3, it was through the Sherlock fandom. And it took me a while to figure out sort of how it worked and what the etiquette was and what is a kudos and what does what kind of comment should I leave? But I do think that over the years, commenting has really become central to my experience of fandom. Like as an author, I know how important it is to get that feedback, even if it's just a heart emoji. It just makes such a difference to me as an author. So I really believe in putting that energy back out into the world. And I comment on almost everything I read. And it's fun for me. I know it's not easy for everyone to comment, and some people it's really difficult for them and they don't know what to say, or they just don't feel comfortable, and that's fine. But I do feel comfortable doing it. So it's really important to me. And I have heard that from other authors, like when I'm interacting with them, maybe on Discord or something, they'll often say, oh my gosh, you leave the best comments. And that makes me just as happy as if they had commented on one of my fics. Yeah. So I'm glad I have that kind of reputation, I guess. Because I do think it really makes a difference to people who are putting their heart and soul out there with anything that they write. And even if it's not my cup of tea, I know how hard, I know how much work it is just to even write like a 200-word fic. Like it's work, it's effort. So I want to honor that with something from my end.
Well, I will absolutely back that up, because me and you were in the comments of Runaway Dreamer's Sandman fic, Crumbling in Your Hand.
Yeah.
So I'd been part of the writing process for that. So I was like, your comments were like seeing it through totally fresh eyes, because I'd been with her going, just not like a lot at that stage, but I had been with her for the writing process. So I would come and see your comments and I'd be like, oh my God, everyone loves it. It's the best. It was great.
That's awesome. That's
It was
awesome. Yeah,
great.
it furthers the conversation. It makes it feel like a community. That's what when I first got into Supernatural as a fandom, I was really looking for a new fandom to be a part of. And even though it was, I wouldn't say tapering off, but like it was like close to the end of the run of the show. So I was like super, super late to the party. But I just felt very welcomed by people's commenting on my fics at that time, saying like, "Oh, you're new, but like we're glad to have you." And so that's really
wonderful.
nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, that might lead into like my first question, which was, when exactly did you get into Supernatural?
So I had been hearing for years that I should watch this show, especially when people found out I was into Sherlock. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, you would love Supernatural." And looking back, what I think they meant was I would like Cass and Dean. And I was on Tumblr for Sherlock, so a lot of Supernatural stuff would come across my feed. But it wasn't until a mom at the bus stop said my younger child was going off to kindergarten, and I was looking for like something to watch while I was doing laundry, that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, she's like, you should watch Supernatural. It's really good. The first 5 seasons are like amazing, but there's even more if you want, and it's ending. And I was like, it's ending. Okay. I knew it was like so long. I knew it was such a long running show. I was like, it's just so daunting. But I was like, okay, if I see the end date in sight, it's not like I'm getting into something that's just going to last forever. Ha ha ha, because I'm still here. But I'm still going to cons and stuff. So I think it will kind of last forever. But in terms of the actual run of the show, I was like, okay, I can do this. I started with episode 1, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into, honestly. I thought I was getting myself into, I don't even know what I thought.
Like casual TV watching, like kind of something you could watch when something else was on, like what I started doing, what I started doing.
I thought it would just be sort of something to fill, like the washing dishes hours. But what happened was I did not know about Sam as a character, okay? I knew about Dean because of he'd show up on my feed. And I knew about Cass because like UCL things, SDL things would show up on my feed, like on Tumblr. I didn't even know Sam was a character. I never heard of Jared Padalecki before. Like, I just couldn't believe that I'd never seen the character of Sam or no. Then I was like, oh, it's a show about brothers. This is interesting. And then I Googled, like, when is this Cass character supposed to come on? And it wasn't until season 4. And I was like, what? I don't understand. Like, I just felt like I'd been marketed something that the show wasn't.
Very interesting. Isn't it very interesting the way the algorithms and stuff kind of work?
Yes. Yes. So anyway, I started watching. I loved it. I almost could have just watched it on mute, just watching their faces because they're so beautiful. And I really got sucked into the vibe and like the darkness. And I do like scary things a little bit. Like in high school, I was really into horror movies. And then over the years, I've lost my taste for that. But it was sort of like a safe way to get that kind of excitement, thrill. And I just loved their performances. I just thought they were both incredibly compelling to watch. So because I was looking for a fandom / a pairing that I could read about, because my previous fandom there wasn't anything new coming out, and I had written a lot for it, and I sort of felt a little burned out on it. I was like, okay, well, they have a ton of chemistry. What are there fics for them, the brothers? And yes, there were lots. And I just kind of dove into it. And at first I was a little uncomfortable with Wincest as a concept. I was like, do I really think this is a good place to be expending my mental energy? And then I read so many beautiful stories that I was like, yes, I think this is a space that I can be in and I find compelling, and they're amazing. And I started off, because I didn't want to spoil myself for the show, I started off reading a lot of J2. And I know J squared, I say J2. I'm sorry.
I say J2. J squared is, I don't like that.
I say
Oh, that
J
makes me
two.
so
I
happy,
I think
Kasey.
I saw that it was J. Like I don't know. I feel like the two's got to be tiny for it to be squared in my mind.
Yep.
So I just say J2 because that's the way I usually see it written. So they actually call it J squared. Some people.
Misha did that.
Oh, okay.
You know the French mistake when he's to hold on, Misha, and he goes,
okay, gotcha.
and he calls them J squared.
Okay.
That was a tweet that Misha actually sent out. Whether he sent it out while they were filming, I don't know. But that tweet that he like reads in the episode, Misha actually tweeted out. So, but I don't know anybody that calls it J squared because that's a tiny two. That's a little one.
Yeah.
I ain't got time to figure out the iPad keyboard to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, so I say J2.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. It's very interesting because I think a lot of people can get colored by what they're exposed to first, like what's the predominant thing happening on whatever social media platform and stuff like that. For you to have gone into it not even knowing about Sam says
I didn't,
so much.
Truly.
Yeah, about like what's out there.
If you could have seen my face.
I'm imagining Kasey's face.
I was like,
what's happening?
You know when you have a dog and you reach for the treats and it goes, huh? And like perks and its ears go up. You went, I didn't even know about Sam, and you sounded so excited, and I was like, huh? And then you kept talking, and I was kind of like, I don't know what this is. Am I going to get half a treat? What is about to happen? I'm scared.
I didn't know, Kasey, if you wanted to ask your question, because I really don't know what the answer to this is, and I'm interested. I'm thinking, but now I don't know. So yeah.
Well, you see, ask. whenever I've said I don't know, it's always not gone my way. So let's see. If you had to, gun to your head, pick a brother to be your one and only Blorbo, who would it be?
I am 100% a Sam girl.
Yay! I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
I'm going to pick him again now. I'm getting a whole fucking treat. Fuck it. I'm getting 2. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm with you, Kasey.
Aw, Kasey.
Yay.
Look at that. Fun
Look
surprise.
Now.
Fun present today. So what is it about? So, I mean, I feel like that's even more of a treat for you than Lemons, because I mean, like you knew nothing about this character and then you start the show expecting one thing and then you get gifted something else entirely. So what, I guess maybe I should ask too, was it Sam right away that you felt a connection with, or did it kind of, how did that come about for you? Like in terms of him being your favorite character?
Jensen Ackles is a really good actor. I think he is so talented and he is so compelling. And I had seen him on Dawson's Creek, which is a favorite of mine from back in the day.
Okay.
And I think in season 1, I started watching and then I loved their dynamic and I kept watching, I think, for Dean, because I just was more, his character was more like understandable, where Sam felt a little bit more like, is he selfish? Is he whiny? Like there were some times in season 1 where I was like, your brother just wants you to be on a hunt with him. Like, just this is where you're supposed to be. Just
get in the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get in the car. Yeah, I get that.
But really, but then I think the dynamic with him and John is so fascinating. And when Jeffrey Dean Morgan was in a couple of episodes towards the end of the first season, I was like, this is such an interesting dynamic between the three of them. And seeing, I just love, I think Jared is like a really underrated actor, and that he grows on you, and his performance really is so important to the show. And I just think it's easier to be like, oh my gosh, Dean and Jensen, and that there's just so much that Jared and Sam.
Well, it wouldn't be a show without Sam. I mean, like the show starts. Yeah, the show starts.
The way I think about it is a lot of my fics that I write are from Dean's POV.
I've noticed that.
And the reason this is, when I'm such a Sam girl, is because I see Dean look at Sam and I just want, not going to be able to articulate this very well. I guess when I write from Dean's POV, I can like embody all of the love and adoration that I have for Sam, like through Dean, because he feels the same way as me.
Yes.
Does that
Totally
make
get
sense?
that. Absolutely. I've read a lot of Wincest stories that when they're from Sam's POV, I kind of click with it right away because, of course, me being the Dean girl, it's like I get all of those layers of it, and I kind of like. But then when they're able to switch it, as Kasey will tell you, I've really become more appreciative and loving of Sam through the fandom.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I think it's that too. Like you're just when you're around people enough. Hey, you said I was on today. I'm on today. So
damn girl.
I think when you're around people that love a character so much, you get to understand it from their point of view and not just the outsider looking in. So it gives you this little opportunity, this window, this door that lets you say, this is why I care about this character. And I think that's important. And I think that's a really good, I have noticed that in a lot of your stuff, that it, at least I think the ones I've gravitated towards have been from Dean's POV primarily. And I think I love getting in his head anyway. So I think getting in his head to then experience his love and care for Sam, it's an easy connection. So yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that.
See, that's so interesting to me because I do find myself, I prefer to write from Sam's POV because I find his head a more comfortable place to be. It makes, he does a lot of questionable things, and I'm not gonna, I mean, he's a baby and he's never done a thing wrong a day in his life. I'll die on the hill. But if you don't understand, some of his actions and choices do look a bit questionable, but his head makes sense to me. I find it a very comfortable place to exist. I understand why he makes the choices he makes. And when he goes rogue in my stories, I'm like, well, I really wish you hadn't done that, but I do understand why you've done that. Whereas when I'm in Dean's POV and I'm in his head and he goes rogue, I'm like, you get your ass back here right now, Wincest, and do as you're fucking told. I have less patience.
Patience for his shit. You have less patience for Dean's shit.
For
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so interesting. I think Dean to me is more like, not simple is the wrong word, but he is less complicated of a character. Like, I think I understand him where Sam is more conflicted and I don't always know what his motivations are. And I think that is maybe why on the show, in my opinion, the writers didn't always know what to do with Sam because he is a more complex character with more layers. It makes it sound like Dean is
no, we get it
though. Guy, but
there's a definite loyalty. I think Dean is driven by his loyalty for his family first and foremost. I think that's what drives him for a lot of things, and I think that's just whatever happened to him growing up. I think kind of like instilled that, made that his motivation, and I think when you've got that one motivation that you cannot crack out of, you're on that path for a while. But I think there's growth in both of them so very much over. But yeah, he's easy to get. And I was like, oh, he's the sassy pants and whatever. And then six seasons later, oh my God, I love this band. I love this fictional character. I want to comfort him, protect him, and do all the things and tell him he's okay. So it's like, it's all that stuff, that I think they are very layered, but I think Sam's a little bit more mysterious, I think. And I think that's intentional in how he's written.
I think it comes down to, apart from a few specific instances, season 8, Benny specifically, Dean's motivation is loyalty for the most part. And when it isn't loyalty, it's fear of loss. And that's a very, I'm not saying that he's not complicated, and I'm not saying he's not layered and nuanced, but that's a pretty straightforward path to follow. It's loyalty to his brother, and when he fears that he's being unloyal or that he's losing his brother, then it shifts to fear. And I think that's what the Benny situation was in 8. Sam's whole thing, we start off with a conflict. Yes, Sam wants to help his brother and find his father, but he has a life and a future, and he wants to stay. And and make something of that life. And there's always that pull between I'm with my brother where I'm supposed to be, but this is not the life I want. And it's a constant pull that does add it's not as straight to follow why he does the things he does. And I think that's probably because he doesn't always know why he does the things he does. You know, like I forget the name of the episode. The one with the scarecrow. I hope your apple pie was freaking worth it.
Scarecrow.
Is that what it's called? Cool.
They were very simple in the first season. Yeah.
Yeah. Wendigo, the Benders. Yeah. I don't think he knows necessarily why he walks off in that episode. He's frustrated, but I think he walks off because he genuinely cannot reconcile those two things, and it's still really early on in his arc.
Yeah.
But that's what he tends to do when he can't find a way to reconcile what he wants and what he needs. Then he's more liable to, flip tables and storm out, whereas Dean's kind of more internal. Yeah, that's so interesting, though.
Yeah. The dynamics, I think you're right about, too, though, seeing Dean and Sam and John. Do you find Sam, because this is a question I was thinking of when you were saying it, do you find Sam to be more like John in his reactions? And because I've always find that sometimes two people that are very similar are sometimes the ones that butt heads the most situation. I didn't know what your thoughts were, like if you see Sam as more closer to John, or maybe like, because I see a lot of Mary in Dean, but I see a lot of John and Dean too. But I didn't know like what your thoughts were about like the family dynamics in particular, about like, are they just too close to each other in terms of how they react to things that they just can't get along? John and Sam.
I think that's what the show wants us to think in the first season. I honestly don't feel like I know John all that well from canon. I have a lot of headcanons about John, and at this point, they're a little bit jumbled in my head.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably right in general. I think I think that the parallels between Jess and Mary are explicit in the show. And I think that is sort of what we're supposed to take away from that. But I don't know that I know John well enough. Like we only get all these little snippets and flashbacks and throwaway comments that could mean anything, really. And that's where my imagination takes over. And I'm not a huge fan of John's parenting style, I'll just say that.
Yeah, I'd say that's
You mean
fair.
you don't leave your children in motel rooms unsupervised for weeks on end and say to your eldest, hey, look after your little sibling with your life, because if you don't, I'll take it. You don't parent like that? I found it to be very effective, Lemons. I don't know why you don't parent like that. PSA, I do not leave my children unsupervised at any point ever.
I know.
It's a very
it's rough.
Yeah. And coming from Gen X, where like, we were kind of the latchkey kid situation. Like we were given those responsibilities, I think, in a way that wasn't the best idea. But then I also don't know of a lot of kids like Sam and Dean, where, Dean's like 8 and is being left alone with his 4-year-old brother, kind of a situation. And we did a tags and tropes episode about age regression Fics. And I know Kasey was talking a lot about how they were just like flabbergasted. Like when you really start to think about the age that, because you kind of get this one little blip in the beginning, 4 years old Dean taking Sammy out of the house with the fire. And then like you might get like a 10-year-old Dean and a 12-year-old Dean, but there's all these years in between that we're not really given space to really think about. And when we do think about it, we're like, oh my God, like, a 6-year-old in charge of a 2-year-old, like, how does that?
My littlest is 6.
Yeah.
I don't trust him to run his own fucking bath.
Yeah.
Never mind look after a 2-year-old. What?
Right.
Yeah. That says so much, I think,
it's
about
upsetting, honestly.
It is. It's very upsetting. It's upsetting for both of them to have to have gone through that. And again, like fictional character
a lot
or not,
of trauma.
Wow, there's so much trauma to unpack with them.
Yeah. We need therapy Winchesters.
Yes, we need therapy Winchesters. I'm guessing, because we're talking about like Wincest, is that like your like Wincest J2? Is that like your favorite stuff to kind of like read and write about? Like, is there any anything else that kind of like really kind of got you? Maybe like on the show too, like canon wise, like if we go canon, like is there a specific like pairing or so? Because like I ship Dean and Donna, like I think they would just be so fun together. It's like that's like my thing.
Is there a specific pairing, and why is it Sam and Jody?
So Wincest is definitely my one true love, but I honestly think I could ship Sam with almost anybody. Like I love him with Rowena. I love him with, I do like him with Jody. Like, why not? They have a good rapport. Like their origin story is pretty intense. And I think I can see Sam with almost anyone because I just think he has so much like he has so much to offer a partner. So I can definitely see that. With Dean, it's really a lot harder because I just think like canonically he is like Sam is his entire universe. And I just, it's really hard for me to even read stories where he's with somebody else because like where's Sam? Is he not in the room with them? Like that's why I just
is he not sitting in the corner while Dean's going, don't look at him, it's fine, just ignore him?
Yes.
Well, there's a really good MJ fic that's got
me.
all of them involved with Donna. That's a fun one. That
works for me.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. So my question,
just,
Sam and Eileen, how about them? How did you feel about them?
Okay. I think for me, I like Eileen as a character. She's awesome. I have, I guess, a little bit of a prejudice against them as a couple because I felt like the people who are into Dean Cass like just wanted Eileen to happen really bad for Sam so that they could take him off the board.
Okay. I gotcha. Yeah.
So that's a little bit of my prejudice there, but I just, I like a lot of the different dynamics, and I do think I mean, obviously Dean and Donna have a lot of chemistry and they're sweet.
They'd just be so fun together. I just think they'd be so fun together. They would. I'm just like, oh, you two get together, have burgers, have some fun sex.
I like Benny and Dean too. Like I could definitely see that. And I haven't written anything else though.
Okay.
I did one reader Dean Sam.
Yes, I found that
story.
Don't worry, Sandra sniffed that one out immediately.
I know. I had to. Someone did it. Put an ask in my Tumblr, and I had to do it, and it was a good challenge.
Yeah,
I would do it again. Yeah, it was fun.
Good. So I think I want to go back a little bit. Now, when I looked into your stuff, I kind of made sure we're talking about Sherlock, like the movies, right? Like not the show, or was I off by that?
The show.
Okay. Because I thought I saw
BBC,
a movie.
BBC Sherlock.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll fix that. I'll take that out then in the end because I thought it was the movies at first because I thought I saw a movie, but that was my thing, so I didn't. So yeah. So Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman.
Yeah, if it's Super Wholock, it's always Benedict and Martin.
Show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you subscribe to the Who part of Super Wholock?
I've never seen Doctor Who. My dad used to watch like the 70s one when I was a kid, and that's my only experience with Doctor Who.
I never got it personally. My husband watches it, and I watched it with him for a period of time, and I was like, what? This is okay. But like I have a lot of time for David Tennant and Matt Smith, so they're nice. I don't have a lot of time to watch TV, so I tend to watch. I haven't even seen Supernatural more than once all the way through.
Okay.
I started watching it, I binged it in 14 months so that I could watch the last few episodes live, thanks to the pandemic. Like the pandemic had not started when I started watching the Supernatural, but then it started, and it all kind of just like, it made it really possible for me to watch a lot in a short amount of time. But I just go back and I watch my favorite episodes. I haven't done a full rewatch, and people ask me why I haven't done that. And it's because I would get too many plot bunnies. Like I don't have time. You mentioned I'm a published author. I have deadlines of not real. Okay. That's not the right word, of original fiction that I have to meet. And so I don't have as much time to write fanfic as I would like to.
Right.
So if I watched the show, I would probably just my brain would be constantly filled with stories that I would want to write and not have time for. And that'd be very frustrating. So that's why I have held off. Someday, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So the next questions are, I'm thinking I need to turn this around in terms of when I ask this. So when did you start writing your original stuff? And did that come before or after writing? I guess what came first, original writing or fan fiction writing?
That is such a great question. I have been writing since I was a little a girl, and just for fun. Mm-hmm. And in high school, so this will date me, I was in the boy band era, late 90s.
Okay.
I graduated high school in 2000.
So were you NSYNC or Backstreet Boys?
I was Backstreet Boys.
Okay, yes.
Person.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So wait,
are we having a shipping war or not?
No. I'm more of a Backstreet Boys fan. So I like NSYNC, but yeah, I was more Backstreet Boys. Yeah. Tell Me Why, Ain't Nothing But a Heartache, just right, all that stuff.
Love Backstreet Boys. So we actually wrote a novel-length Backstreet Boys fan fiction. Aww. I did not know the term fan fiction at the time. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wasn't even invented yet. Mm-hmm. But we wrote, we each had our favorite character, member of the band, and we wrote individually our storyline, and we all brought it together and
That's
sort of wove it together as
best.
And it was really cute. And we made a cover and we took it to Kinko's and we had them print it. And we're giggling in the corner while these Kinko's employees have to print out 5 copies of our Backstreet Boys fan fiction and bind it. We had it bound. I still have it. It's so cute.
So I'm going to date myself for a second, Lemons, because you probably already read this, but I was New Kids on the Block. So we're talking 80s. So this was before. Nice. So this was writing. I would write out. Everybody had a special boy band member, and I would pair them up, and we talk about it between classes. And then I had one friend who's took all of my writing, and then over one summer she started typing it out on her typewriter.
That's amazing.
I never quite finished it, but it was one of those things where we kind of worked on it. And I got inspiration and stuff like that. So yes, I'm a couple generations behind, ahead of you, but that was where I was at. I still like Backstreet Boys. I think Backstreet Boys were my, here's New Kids again. Situation.
That was it.
Oh yeah.
That was I confused New Kids on the Block and NSYNC there because
yeah, I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there. I know you've probably, if you listened, you know.
That's awesome. I love that. So that was sort of, I didn't at the time understand what we were doing, but looking back, I'm oh my gosh, I've actually been writing fan fiction since high school, which is really amazing. I love fandom and fan fiction so much. I just think it's such an amazing creative force in the world and a positive thing for the world. And I just love it so much. So I started writing original fiction after college, but I didn't start getting serious about publishing until 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And my first book, I published with a small press. My first book came out in 2013. Okay. And then I had 2 babies and I took a break on publishing. And then but I kept writing. My younger child went to kindergarten, I think I mentioned, and then the pandemic hit and then they were back. But all of that sort of, I don't know, the timing was interesting, but I decided to start self-publishing. So I had learned a lot about it. And I knew I had published 4 books already with an indie publisher. So like a small press. Yeah. So I learned the editorial process and I felt, and I sort of have an entrepreneurial side. So I thought, this is something I can do. And so in 2020, I started self-publishing. And since then I've published about 15 books, anthologies, novellas.
That is amazing.
All right.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
So
way to go, you, because that's a lot of writing and fan fiction in between all of that.
And you you edit all that yourself? You don't hire an external editor? You do it yourself? I don't know how this works. I'm sorry.
So in a nutshell, I write a book, I self-edit it. I do not have a developmental editor, but I do hire copy editors and proofreaders. So I
like what I do, Kasey.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would. I send it to a copy editor. I make those changes. Then I send it to a different proofreader. Make those changes. I have a book at the editor right now that's coming out at the end of the month.
Okay.
So then, as an indie published person, I got the rights back on my original, on my first few books, and
Good.
have republished them.
Good.
Yeah, I love indie publishing. It's so. I mean, I write romance, so if
Mhm.
that wasn't obvious, so as
Mhm.
a genre, and it's a really good fit for indie publishing because readers don't care, what where the book was published. They just want a great story, and
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
gotten a lot of great feedback. I have two pen names because I write two different subgenres. So one of my pen names is kind of your traditional steamy contemporary small town romance, mostly MF, male female.
Mhm.
But then my other pen name is male male romance. It's been really great. I love the response I've gotten
Oh, that's
from
awesome.
my romance, and so I'm starting to write more of that. And I really do think that it is because of the confidence I got from writing fan fiction, like original
Mhm.
fan fiction. And Sandra, you mentioned, some of like Leaving Las Vegas feels like a kind of a romance.
It's like
It's a
a
romance trope.
rom-com. Yeah, but it's like
Yeah.
it's got so much, oh no, the cringe. Oh no, they're gonna find out. Oh no, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And but there's so many like little flips and turns, and yeah, like it has a nice pace to it that feels it doesn't feel, I mean, it's end of the world in some respects, like emotionally and relationship wise, but not like end of the world. Oh my God, we got to deal with the end of the world situation. It's like it's a
Mm-hmm.
relationship situation, and
Mhm.
I really loved that about that story. Like I said, I loved Dean's
Thanks.
like, oh well, we got the same last name. We must be married. Like, no, okay, that's the first thing you're going to. That's a complete like,
Poor
okay, all right. So
Dean.
we know
Hey,
Dean. We
Dean.
thank you, Dean.
He's
We've got it all there,
he's
right there. So that kind of thing.
he's
Yeah, it was just
adorable.
he's adorable in that one. He really is. No, but yeah, I
Um,
definitely felt that. Like, I think that's why I
so
kind of gravitated towards that one right away,
yeah,
like to start.
I think a lot of people like that story. And I would love to write more things like that, but
Hmm.
because my bandwidth is limited and I have to retain some of my creative energy for my original fiction,
Yeah,
it's hard for me to justify writing like a book length
right.
rom-com for Sam and Dean. Like
Yeah,
I would love to do that, don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
it's tough for my time allocation.
yeah.
So, but
Hmm.
in I guess that's why I have been writing more shorter pieces for Sam and Dean lately, but I do think that my original fiction has really been improved craft wise by the experimentation I've been able to do in fan fiction,
Right.
because there's less pressure in fanfic to conform to a certain style. Like anything goes, and that's so freeing. And I
Hmm.
love that. And has really helped me figure out my voice and my own style. And I really enjoy that about it.
That's
Plus,
awesome.
getting the feedback is really nice. Like
Hmm.
getting people say, "I love this." Like, there's nothing better than that as a writer. And sometimes
Yeah.
when you
Yes.
write books and you're publishing books,
You don't always get that right
you
away,
don't get.
right?
No, you
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
You
That's
don't.
really hard. I think
Um,
that's the one thing that I think writing and then wanting to, I think with the fanfic, you do get that immediate response that you just don't
mhm,
always get when you're writing original
mhm,
fiction. I'm
mhm,
curious because you said you did a small press and then went indie, because I kind of did the same thing like with my
mhm.
first two books, and then I got my rights back because I don't know what your experience was, and I'm still not, Kasey will tell you, I don't market, I don't do anything I'm supposed to do, but
She does not. It's infuriating.
but but my thing is that I feel like there's so much in a small press situation, I guess, unless you're like really traditional, like published by the big, whatever the big three, big four, big five are at this point. I don't even know anymore. But unless you get
Yeah.
that magical, that shot, you're really left to do a lot of it. I mean, I think
Yes.
my experience with small press was they really gave me the in as to, oh, you need a cover artist. Oh, you've got to make sure you get your stuff edited. You've got to go through about 3 rounds of edits. If you need something developmental, they'll do developmental. If not, if you're confident in the way your story is going, you can just rely on somebody to check out, spelling, punctuation, grammar, or if something seems really off, they might point something out to you. And then you kind of like put it out into the world via whatever channels you want to do. I was kind of left to be like, well, I'm doing all this stuff anyway. Why don't I just do it myself and, on my own timeline? Because I didn't feel like I was getting any support really, like beyond the, we'll get you a cover artist and we'll help you with the editing. And I'm like, well, I could do that. And I don't know if that's a similar situation.
I mean, I appreciated what the small press I worked with did provide me in terms of those things, but 100%, there is no, especially if you, it depends on what your goals are with your writing and with your publishing efforts. And if you want a career in a certain genre and you want to write a lot of books, I think that being an indie or self-published author, it's definitely an investment you're making in yourself and your writing, because there is a learning curve to how to find an editor and are they good, and you have to pay them yourself, and
there's a lot of investment.
Upload. There's a lot of time and money that you're going to invest in bringing a book to market. But once you have that knowledge, each book gets easier. And if you stay in it, and that's what your goal is, that's my personal goal, is to stay in, like have a long career.
Right.
So I want to keep writing consistently and publishing consistently. And I learn things with each book that I publish, and I've made a lot of mistakes, but I learn with each book that gets put out there. So that's worth it to me. And I think that I'm going to see the returns on that because I'm doing it myself, rather than putting my eggs in a basket of a publisher who might fold or who might not want to publish my next book. Or, publishing is a really tough industry. And I always tell people it's a terrible way to make money, because it really is. It's not, there are many easier and more secure ways to make money, but I want to write. And so it's sort of a lifestyle I've chosen. And I am privileged to be able to have chosen that lifestyle, at least at this point in my life. You never know what will happen in the future, if I'll be able to continue it or not. But right now it's something I can do. And I'm grateful that I can, but it's a lot of work and it is not easy. But being self-published gives me control, and I like that part of it. And the entrepreneurial side does appeal to me. If you don't like, not that marketing is fun. Some people might find it fun. And I have had to learn which aspects of it I don't hate and do those.
Because I hate social media with a passion, and I just can't. It's just, it feels so, I might have to have a discussion with you at some point. Like, what do you do?
Sure.
What are your tips? Because I just can't. I was just like, I tried it, and I know sometimes you can have people do it for you, but then that requires, that requires money. And it's like, I don't, so it's an investment.
I'm happy to talk with you about it, Sandra. I think think about what your goals are. So if your goal is to, like, how many books a year do you want to publish? And, or do you just want to promote the books you already have out there? And, like, where are your books available? It's all those things are going to, affect the choices you make. And we can definitely set up a time to chat.
Cool.
I'm happy to.
Because I feel like we're not the only ones, I love this for you guys. Like I know there's a lot of people I feel like have written fan fiction and think I could do this thing. And I've seen some of the stuff that's published, that's romance. And then I read a piece of fan fiction that somebody writes. I'm going, oh my God. And I get it. Some people write because they want to write it, and it's not their goal. But then I look at the talent behind a lot of writers. I'm like, it's so good.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it's amazing that they're giving us this opportunity for free to read their stuff. And I'm just like, but you could probably do this in another way or give it a shot, even if it's just one, you know?
I so agree. I think the level of quality in most of the fan fiction I write is as good or better than the published books I read.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that for you, Sandra, because I know you're not going to say that, but that's right.
There are some fanfic authors that we read who probably are published authors.
I do.
And we just don't know
it. Yeah.
who they are.
Yeah.
And I do think also that there are people out there who could easily take their talent and write original fiction that people would love. And maybe they don't think they can do it, or maybe they don't see a path there, or maybe they're just busy with other stuff. And maybe writing fan fiction is all that they need.
Yeah.
And that's fine too.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know, but I like writing both. I think they both feed each other. So when I get stuck in an original project, I'll write some fan fiction and it'll kind of like loosen me up to go back to my other project. And that's fun for me.
Do you, for your male, female, do you usually have because the last thing I wrote, I basically just wrote Dean, as my hero. That's what I kind of use. Do you do that now with or did you do that? Did you have a certain, not an actor, but a character, do you have a character trope? Do you have a certain type of hero that you like to write? In your, because you said contemporary is kind of your go-to. Yeah.
That's such a good question. I do not love alphas.
Okay.
Alpha heroes personally, and I don't write a lot of alpha heroes. I write beta heroes who are more cinnamon roll and
I love that cinnamon roll.
Yeah. So and that's
so puppy dog, kind of puppy dog,
yeah.
So I wonder where
Sam.
the inspiration might have come from that.
Yeah. So
too cute.
Sam is definitely my type. Yeah. He's brainy and he's sensitive and he's beautiful and
That's
tall.
Cute. Yeah.
Got them cute bangs. He's tall.
Yeah.
And he's ripped and he's tall. He's got good hair. He's tall.
The hair. Yeah. No, seriously, he's my type. Sherlock is, my husband was like, should I be concerned with how into Sherlock you are at one point? And I said, and I have long since kind of moved on from the Sherlock world, but at the time I was like, well, he is tall and skinny, and so are you. He's really my type. Get it? You should be flattered.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, my husband is mildly alarmed, but has come to understand my love of Dean Winchester, and that if Dean Winchester walked out of Supernatural and knocked on my door, I would be done. I'd be like, honey, I love you. I'm going here now.
Yeah. That's just how it is. So, so Sam definitely Sam and Jared. I mean, Jared's
so a puppy dog. He's such a puppy dog too. Like a big puppy dog.
I don't know hair. I loved hearing Kasey talk about their experience at the con because it was so wonderful. I was listening with a smile on my face. I was just like, this is amazing, because that's how I felt when I went to my first con. So
can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. It was Nashville 2022.
Okay.
December 2022. Okay. It wasn't that long ago. Because again, I'm pretty new to to Supernatural, and people would go to these conventions, and I'd be like, "What is this all about? This is so interesting and mysterious." And then I made a really good fandom friend who was like, She lives in a different country, and she's like, "You live in America. You should go to one of these cons." And I was like, "What? Really? You think I could go to one?" And so I looked into it, and I was turning 40, and I was like, this would be an awesome birthday present. Aww. And so I kind of made it happen to go to Nashville, which is a city I'd always wanted to go to anyway. So I was like, okay, I can go to Nashville. I can do this on my own. I didn't know anybody. I just went, and I had a J2 op
Okay.
and I had gold. I splurged.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Good.
I
Good for you.
splurged
Were
on
you
gold
in the
because I was like,
Winchester sandwich? Were you the filling in the Winchester sandwich?
I was like, I'm never gonna. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. That's how I thought. I conceived of it. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna splurge. I'm gonna do gold. I'm gonna get a J2 op. I got a J2 op and I got a Robin Rich op because I'm a big fan of theirs too.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And oh my gosh, Jared was the sweetest human being. He like
Right.
called me, he like hugged me and called me sweetheart. And he was I was like, thank you. And he's like, oh, thank you. It was just like so sweet that I was like, this is, oh my gosh. And when I got the picture,
okay, but you've got to say,
hilarious.
how gorgeous are they in person? Like
they're beautiful human beings.
Like it's just,
yeah.
but like you don't think it can be any better in person,
though.
And then it is. And it's like, how?
Did you remember to breathe? Because I didn't remember to breathe either time.
I was just smiling so big. It's like embarrassing, but
we've all got those pictures.
When I look at the picture, Jared is like hunched over to be like sort of meet me where I am, and Jensen's just standing looking like cool as a cucumber. It is the most hilarious picture. I will send it to you guys.
That is so
cute. How tall are you?
I'm 5'5".
Okay. So about me. I'm a little less than you.
Little.
Yeah.
So
he was doing the splits. He was doing the splits to get down to you.
He was all like hunching down, but but Jensen's like not doing that. It's hilarious. It's so funny.
Oh,
and so someday I'd love to get just like a Jared solo op. I think that would be really fun.
It is.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. Yeah. So so that was Nashville, and I was also super lucky to get a radio company ticket.
Okay.
So I went to the radio company show because I love Jensen's band. I think he's such a good singer. I love their music, him and Steve Carlson. Like I love all their albums. I listen to radio company constantly when I'm writing because I just think that I just love his voice, and they're both of them.
It's a good vibe as well, isn't it? Like it's got a little bit of something to distract your brain a little bit, but it's not overwhelming. Like I don't know what kind of music you listen to, but if you've ever tried to write to something like Slipknot, for example, that's quite
It's a different vibe
to write to. Glares at junkies aggressively. That's quite
wow. Yeah,
you gotta like partition off your brain and be like, okay, this bit's listening to the tunes and this bit's writing because we can't do both. But I needed the kind of like the vibe and the mental imagery that they were giving me. But radio company's nice.
I make a different playlist for everything I write. So I like to listen to music while I write. And radio company is in heavy rotation in all of my writing playlists.
Nice.
I'm wondering if I'm doing this wrong because I don't make playlists.
Oh.
I don't.
Maybe you should. Because when I hear the songs, like when I hear the first song on the on the playlist, I'm like, oh, now I'm writing this project. And it helps me get into it faster.
Does it kind of like set your brain up like for doing it?
Definitely.
Yeah, maybe I'm doing this wrong. I have like song Fics that are inspired by one specific song. So I'll have listened to that one specific song a lot. Or like Junkies is turned into like a whole album. I couldn't listen to one Slipknot song on repeat for the amount of times it's taken me to write that thing. I tend to just pick like, I'm really corny. I like that. Not quite like 80s cock rock, but like, that kind of 80s, like, it would be classic rock now because we're all so fucking old.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not outright cock rock, but it's like kind of suggestive and it talks about sex maybe more than you think it talks about sex if you're not listening for it. So like older Bon Jovi, older Meatloaf, stuff like that. And I'll just throw that on the background because for some reason that makes my brain go, yes, now it's smut time. But it's not aggressively in my brain then. Maybe I need to do playlists. Maybe I'm doing this
with you. I think that's good writing music for sure. That's another thing that I appreciate about Supernatural is it kind of got me into classic rock. Is that cringe? I don't know.
It's not cringe.
I don't think so.
I'm like Bob Seger is like now like I love Bob Seger now, which is so silly. It's
no, I don't think so. I think it gives you because I mean, even though I grew up around that time, I really didn't like, I knew of these bands and I listened to stuff, but I didn't like listen to them, like I was never
Uh-huh.
into it. So Bob Seger, I think he's one of the ones too that I think so what I think I do now, and I don't do it as much. I've been doing it now with this Wincest Big Bang thing that I'm trying to work on is
Ooh, yeah.
since I got some suggestions for like different songs to use, I would like find that song on say Spotify, and then it just keeps going and gives me suggestions of stuff
Right.
that's similar to it. And that kind of like kept me I guess in the zone, so to speak, like as I was working through a couple scenes or whatever, like, to kind of like push through. And
I would
feel
love to know what Spotify recommended for you after feel.
I
You
will,
should have told me.
it was a lot of Metallica, and then it was a lot of yeah, it was a lot of actually next time if when I'm writing again, I'll like maybe screenshot, like what
Yes, please.
what they ended up recommending. But I find that's really good because I don't know if I have it in my brain to like search out, because I'm not I like music, but like I only have I have a certain people that I listen to, and then like that's it. But then if I start with one song, I just notice it'll kind of like give me that, oh, you might like this, oh, you might like this, and then I can either say yes or no, and then kind of just keep moving on through it. Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah, I'm not as musical, or I've noticed I need more maybe like instrumental stuff that maybe doesn't have a lot of lyrics to it. So I'll find like a pop instrumental channel like station, or even like I did a hard rock instrumental like as I was writing
nice.
others, because that's like I need the I don't I know vibe is a thing now. Vibe is a word everything. I like the feeling, but not necessarily don't suck me into the lyrics, because then I'll start listening to the lyrics a little bit more, which can be good. Sometimes it can be good because it can get your mind thinking of a certain way for a scene to go, but sometimes not. So it's interesting how everybody approaches it.
Yeah. I don't mind. I can write to music with lyrics, but I know not everybody can.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my questions never make it on the document because I don't think of them in advance.
Oh, that's okay.
So I tend to spring them on people. Surprise. So my question is, this is like, because you said you write like supernatural and then like J2 real person fiction. So this can apply to that, or it can apply to your fan fiction or your original fiction. When you get an idea for a story, how do you decide where you're going to put it? Like when they come to you, are you like, oh, this is a Sam and Dean story, or no, I'm going to make original characters for this, or like, how do you choose?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Usually with my original fiction, I usually am pretty intentional about what I'm writing. I pick certain tropes. I write in series. So I do have those planned out a little bit more. But which is not to say I don't get ideas that kind of pop into my head and then I incorporate them into those stories. For my fan fiction, I am usually inspired by a situation or maybe some dialogue that I think the characters might say. I really like writing dialogue. So that it's usually pretty clear who or what pairing I'm going to write for the idea comes along with that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. Yeah, thank you. I just always, like when people write, like, if you decide to write like an AU of something complete, like a magical world or something, I'm like, well, how would you decide if that's going to be J2 or if it's going to be Sam and Dean? Like, it's a completely new world universe. They can be anything. So how do you choose? Yeah.
I don't really like. So that's so interesting. I agree. I think that's really interesting how people decide what to write for. I don't usually write AUs for Sam and Dean. And I don't usually read AUs for Sam and Dean because I love the world that they are from originally. But the longest and my biggest series that I ever wrote for Supernatural is an AU where there's no monsters and they're not hunters. And that was, again, a really intentional choice because I was inspired by a couple of different fics. That's actually where I get a lot of my fan fiction inspiration, is from other fics that have such an interesting take on something that I never thought of before, or an interesting scenario. And then I start thinking about it and I'm like, oh, how would I interpret that?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So my Burning for You series is a non-hunting AU where the brothers, Dean realize, like, they get away from John at an early age. Dean basically raises Sam, and then Dean realizes that Sam's kind of the only person he wants, and he goes to therapy. Speaking of therapy,
Yay!
Winchesters.
Yay!
I love writing them in therapy. So there's a lot of Dean in therapy in that fic. And that fic is all from Dean's POV.
Okay.
And it was really satisfying to write because it was such a challenge to write not a non-hunter universe. It was like, and to sort of bring in the characters from the show in different ways, and the therapy piece of it. Like, Sam and Dean, to me, are just really damaged people. They have not had a choice in that, like, since they were little, and it's like they've been through so much. It's almost like, how are they even still functioning?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I like to do in my stories is give them an avenue for healing that the show doesn't give them.
Yeah.
I like to send them to therapy. I like to make them communicate. I like to give them softness and fluffiness because they don't get that on the show. And I just want them to, like, if not be happy, like, at least, like, find peace with each other and themselves. And so that's what's satisfying about writing for them, is that they've been through so much, and, like, I don't try to fix them, I guess. I just want them to take the good parts that they can get, which is with each other usually. So that's kind of my take on that.
No, that does make sense. And I think we've talked about that before. Like, and Kasey's always a big proponent of context. You've got to understand that what these boys have gone through has nothing, has no real comparison to, what another person outside of this AU would be able to handle, or how they would process the situation. And I think that's important too. And I like your idea about, I feel like with Sam and Dean in a story, it's really about Sam and Dean. I think with J2, I think you have a little bit more freedom to kind of like put them in other situations, because by design, they're actors that you feel like, okay, I could kind of give them a role and see how they kind of go with it. Where I think with Sam and Dean, you want Sam and Dean, so I do find that interesting when I try.
I do kind of like those AUs where you take Sam and Dean and you put them somewhere that's wildly unfamiliar to them, and they're still them, and they have to react to what is around them. But I do find that a lot of things fall apart real fucking quickly when you take away the context of their universe, and you're like, but no, what? You wouldn't react like, nobody would react like that. This is why you're so fucked up, and I love you. Right. It doesn't.
Right. Yes.
It doesn't always work without.
I do not agree more.
So
that's why writing Burning for You was really a cool challenge, because I had to give them real life reasons for the way being the way they are.
But still with the trauma that they had, like, early on. So I think that's important too. Like you said, they got out, but they still had that trauma, like at some point. And it sounds like the Dean having to still, care for Sam, like all of that stuff really was a through line, I think, for what you put them.
Yeah, I tried to stay true to the core of their relationship as I see it.
I think that's maybe part of why Junkies is taken so long, because I'm at the point in that story where the show would invent some kind of climactic big Urbad, and they'd go, oh shit, we have to be fine because God's older brother Phil's going to turn up and, I don't know, blow up Detroit or something, But I don't have God's big brother Phil.
Right.
And I don't have Detroit. So I have to, like,
deal.
Oh, we
with
have to
what's
we have
going
to
on.
fix this.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then
Mhm.
they're having, very valid and normal reactions to the trauma that I've put them through. And I need Phil, and I don't have Phil. And now I
Mhm.
have to fix it. And that's probably
Yeah.
what the problem
Shake a
is.
stick. Look over here. Look over here. Look at this thing. So you don't have to actually pay attention to what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Situation that's not there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun time.
It's tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
writing is hard.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So fanfic tropes, what do you, because I we could get into the whole other original writing, but I'm going to try to veer us towards that because my brain wants to go other places. But fanfic tropes, what do you gravitate towards reading and writing? Like what are some things that you really like to explore fanfic wise?
I tend to like lighter stuff on the whole, just
Mhm.
because I again like that's kind of more fun for me, but
Mhm.
I like the misunderstanding trope,
Mhm.
which is so funny because in original fiction I don't think that is a good basis for a story is a misunderstanding, but in fanfic it's so fun.
Mhm.
I just wrote one this week.
Okay. Woo.
Because I love it when the reader knows something that the characters don't.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
that's really fun.
Mhm.
So that's a good one. I like it when they have to talk. I guess that's why I keep sending them to therapy, even though I am not a therapist and I know nothing. I like really have no business writing about therapy or
Yeah.
therapists. And
I
I
did the
always put
same
that in
thing in one
the
of mine. I'm like, look,
disclaimer.
I don't know anything that I'm writing
Yeah,
about. Just go with it. Yeah, just go with
I
it, please.
don't.
Yeah.
I have a pop culture understanding of that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
but it's okay. So I do like those kind of situations. I do love Amnesia.
Mm.
That's Leaving Las
Mhm.
Vegas is an Amnesia fic, and I love Amnesia, but
Yeah.
it's so hard to do well with
Mhm.
consent issues, and
Yeah.
consent is a huge thing for me.
Mhm.
So it's hard when one has amnesia and the other doesn't. And so
I
that's why
like
in
how you
Leaving Las
baited
Vegas,
both. Yeah, both of
I
that
gave
way.
them both amnesia because I was like, okay, then at least they have that like in common. And I guess those are my top ones
Okay.
just off the top of my head.
Okay. My next set. So I had a couple questions, but then Jen in our Discord came up with some questions that I thought very much aligned with like this next section. So again, I
Okay.
put it out late and wrong. I apologize. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm usually like 2 weeks ahead. And I was just like, oh, I didn't do this thing. So we put
No worries.
out a little like, if anybody had any questions. So Jen had a bunch. I think we hit on some of these, but for fan fiction, you said most of your inspiration, you said that kind of comes from like a line. Do you get a lot of inspiration from the show itself, or is it really more kind of now maybe more the fan fiction that you read? It sounds like it might be more the fanfic that you read.
I've definitely probably spent more hours reading fan fiction than I have watching the show,
Mhm.
but I do get inspiration from the show. Like there's certain things that I wish they could have spent more time on, or
Mhm.
certain scenarios where I'm like, well, let's see them like actually deal with this situation,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
where I then would like to like go in and write. I especially like Red Meat is probably my favorite episode because
Mhm.
it's got so many amazing Sam Dean feels in it.
Yeah.
And at the end of that episode, like they don't talk about it. And they don't like, oh, what did you do while you thought I was dead? Like, nothing. I knew you weren't dead. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I love sort of dealing with those kinds of um, unexplored avenues of the show.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that I have lately been writing more to prompts that I get from different discords that I'm in. And that's actually a really fun way to spur
Okay.
ideas too, because it just it's like it's a good writing exercise because
Mhm.
whatever your first spark of inspiration is when you read like a really short prompt
Mhm.
it's just cool to see what your brain comes up with like very little thinking and just sort of
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
I really love that. I think the writing process is so mysterious and magical. Like, how do thoughts in your brain translate into words on a page that other people can read and then understand. And you didn't even like know what you're writing when you're writing it, really. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like a conduit sometimes. And I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from. It's just.
Or you
knocking
have
out.
like a roadmap, sort of an idea, but then other stuff kind of gets filled in.
Yeah.
I would think too. Like
Yeah,
I think that's the most fun part of writing is, like you said, kind of looking back and going, oh, I wrote that. Why? You know, like and figuring that out kind of a situation is just, you don't know for that.
When you're the scribe, you're not the author. This is not your story. You're just writing it down. I love that. I love that.
So
cool.
Another one of Jin's questions, if we do fanfic, so it sounds like it says, what is their writing process? Do they outline or write from ideas with less structure? Do they write key scenes and then go back and fill in, or write mostly in chronological order for fanfic?
Oh, it depends on the type of fic I'm writing. So for a longer, like multi-chapter fic, I will spend a long time kind of crafting it. I'll try to write mostly in order, but I'll probably end up by skipping around some. But for a shorter fic, I usually sit down and write the whole thing. And then I'll maybe step away and read through it one more time and then post it. I don't do a lot of editing for my shorter stuff. I just kind of put it out there. But for longer stuff, I usually have more of an idea of something specific I'm trying to accomplish with the story. So then I do spend more time and will bounce around more. So like, I think you wanted to maybe talk about Wincest Big Bang. Which we're both doing. Yeah. And Kasey, are you doing it?
I am.
So is Dreamer.
Oh, yay.
So is Dreamer.
Yeah. Oh, yay. Okay. I thought I forgot that, but yes, that's awesome. So I have been not writing that in camera. Like I have been bouncing around so much with that story, which is a little bit frustrating, but it's just how this one's coming out. So like I have specific things I want to do with it, and I have specific scenes I want, and I'm just having a really hard time connecting all of them. And so I am bouncing around with that
now,
one.
Is this your first like Big Bang, or have you done others?
I have done one other Big Bang, but I did a mini bang.
Okay,
it was
so like a 5K or something like that?
It was a Sam Winchester Big Bang. That was 2 years ago.
This is starting to feel like some Fight Club Tyler Durden shit. I'm not gonna lie.
Why?
What do you mean?
Because you two are just like, oh yeah, no, I started at Spellcraft Publishing, and now I'm doing publishing, and I've done one before.
Do you think like we're the same person?
Yeah, a little bit. It's getting weird, y'all. That's so cool.
That's so funny. So I did one short one, and then everybody was doing this one, and I heard you guys did your episode on Big Bangs, and I was like, I should really give it another shot. And it's so exciting to get art made for your stories, and I've had that happen a couple times, but not a lot. And I'm just so excited about my artist, and it's going to be really fun. Sounds great.
You said Sam Winchester Big Bang. Do you know if that's still going? Because not that Kasey wants to add anything else to their plate right now, but do you know of any leaning Sams?
Is.
Okay. All right.
It was sort of intermittent from what I understand, and the mod hasn't done it since the 2022 one.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
life a lot of times, and again,
someday, I always think I'd love to run an event. I help out with a couple of events. Like I do, there's the Wayward Sons zine.
I was going to ask about
3
that
years
too.
in a row.
Yeah, that's Caroline Digital Meow Mix, right?
Yeah. Yes. And so I did it the first year, and then the second year I was like, I can help you with formatting and stuff. So I've done the formatting for it for 2 years.
Nice.
And she's really sweet.
Yeah.
And it's a fun event. So I've helped, but I've never run an event. But someday I'm like, when I have more time on my hands, I'd love to run an event. I don't know when that'll ever be.
This is like the cat-dog situation. Like maybe just wait.
Yes. Oh
that one magical time when the children don't need you, and you're caught up with work, and you're like, I totally have time for something else on my plate. Yeah, no, I'm aware of that when I have more time.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So I got to ask this one question because this is going to be an original fiction compared to fanfic question because I have this feeling about fanfic and I don't know if I'm the only one so I'd like to ask you coming from it. Do you feel that your fan fiction is kind of always a draft and not really a final work? Like, are you okay? It sounds like you're okay with just kind of letting your baby go out into the world and maybe not it being perfect or whatever, but then not having to go through the rigmarole that is original fiction and publishing and like, making sure you've got it quote like beta edited, all of those things. Because for me, I definitely have a different feeling of my fan fiction. Like I'm okay with not going back to it and fixing it, unless it's like something blatantly obvious, but it's like, I kind of let it go. And it's like, this is what came out. So it feels a bit more free writing to me in a lot of ways. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't belabor my fics. I don't over edit them. They're full of errors and I'm okay with that. I would not publish an original piece without having it go through multiple levels of people looking at it for errors, and there's still errors at the end of the day. Like
I hate that.
I know what's with that, but it is the case. So, but with fanfic, it's totally different bar, and that is fine. I mean, people don't expect it to be super polished, and I always appreciate when I'm reading a fic that is relatively
somebody
polished.
has gone through it, and they do have that care for it. Like we know a few people, Dreamer, that's kind of that way, where it's like you really want to make sure
hers are super polished, right? They really are, and I appreciate that.
Yes,
I know how much time that takes and how much effort that takes, and I'm very impatient. I like to just, when I finish something, I like to put it out second.
Do you whip stuff a lot? Like do you kind of let stuff out when it's not finished, or do you wait until it's finished?
It depends. I sometimes need the feedback from the audience to give me energy to keep going with the story. So sometimes I will put out a work in progress that's like, maybe I'll have the first couple chapters written and then I don't usually wait until the whole thing's written. No, I like to post as I write.
Yeah. I like that too.
Fun.
I like that part of it because again, I feel like you get feedback that you don't get when you're writing.
I don't like writing. I do feel those unfinished fics hanging over my head though. So I don't like to post unless I'm pretty sure I can finish it in a reasonable amount of time, because otherwise I get stressed that I have an unfinished work out there. And it'll bother me until I can go back and finish it. So like with Be My Brother Tonight, which is a 2-chapter fic, I wrote the first chapter and I kind of had thought that there would be another part, but I didn't know when I would have a chance to write it. So I just posted the first chapter as like a finished work. And I was like, there might be more of this, but there might not be. So just enjoy what I have for you right now. And then I think like a month or two later, I had time to write the second chapter, and then I went back and added it, and that was okay, not too stressful.
Yeah, cool. Jin's got another question: is there a specific workspace or setup that works best for you, like computer, desk, cup of coffee in the morning, or tablet, couch, cozy blanket, and wine at midnight? So I guess if we're talking about fanfic, do you have a sort of like get into a certain mode or space?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I'm a morning writer, but I don't usually allow myself to write fanfic in the morning because I have other stuff to do. So I tend to write a lot of my fic at night, which is when I'm not fresh, but I feel like, okay, this is like my treat at the end of the day.
Cool.
So I'm not a couch writer though. I like to write at my desk.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll write by hand. If it's something short, and then that doesn't matter where I am, but I'm usually on my computer.
And then this one is sort of similar to one of the questions I had. Top 3 favorites that you've written. Do you have a top 3? Or just
That's
maybe
a really
one.
hard question.
Just maybe one that stands out.
So I think I really like I'm Burning for You. That's my AU because it's really long and I put like a lot of effort into it, and really proud of it.
Mhm.
So that's probably my number one. I have a curtain fic that's relatively short that just makes me happy, and I reread it all the time. Called Cards on the Table. And so
Okay.
that's probably another favorite of mine that's also from Dean's POV.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people like that. It's like if Carry On never happened, like
Okay.
how might they end up? And it makes me happy. And I like there's a 5+1 I wrote that I don't think a lot of people have found, but I really like how it turned out. It's called Next Best Thing.
Okay.
And it's kind of P with P-ish, PWP
Uh-huh.
ish.
Yep.
It's pretty sexy, but I like it. I don't know why I like it, but
Okay. Now, the
That's
last
it.
question from Jen is one work that you're proud of that hasn't gotten as much love that they would recommend.
Oh,
Would that
okay.
be
So
one of
that
the
would be
ones?
yeah.
Okay.
Next Best Thing. Go read
Okay.
it. Tell me what you
Okay.
think.
All right. Next best thing. I'm
Yeah.
writing that one down. So I'm going to let Kasey ask their questions, but my brain has just been going all over the place with your writing, and I want to go over like maybe some of the ones that I found that I really liked after, but I'll let Kasey ask their question now.
Ask my questions now. Okay, but my questions go at the end.
Well, I'm sorry. We're going to do it a little bit different this time. We're going to bounce around.
Somebody want to come and get their Sandra, please? She appears to have been replaced with a sassy woman today. Good lord. All right. Fine. Okay. So again, my questions tend to be more surprise questions. So if you want to share, like there's absolutely no pressure if you don't want to, but we get curious. Where did you come up with your username? Why are you Fictional Lemons? Did you find factual lemons to be too dry?
Such a great question. All of my online handles since back in the days of AOL Instant Messenger have had to do with citrus. Like, I don't know why. And so I just wanted to kind of keep that through line. So it's been different things over the years, but I love lemons. I'm a jam maker in my spare time too.
Okay.
I love making marmalade and jam. So I just love lemons. And when I was trying to come up with my AO3 handle, that's where I came up with it. I was like, fictional. I wanted to have something to do with writing. So I was like, Fictional Lemons. It sounds cool. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just like, but then I found out about the citrus scale, which is this fanfic thing where in the old days, like to get around tag restrictions and stuff, people would say like the steaminess level of their fics would be on the citrus scale. So like lemon, I think is on the page sex. It's like explicitness ratings.
Lemon. So
yeah, there's like grapefruit and orange and
so is lemon at the top?
Yeah, I knew lemon as a shorthand for here be porn. Yeah, I didn't know there was a whole ass scale.
Yeah, I've heard about
it's called the citrus scale.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it also works for that because I like writing sex. So
that's great. I love that so much.
Happy accident.
Yeah, happy accident. Exactly.
That's amazing. I love that. Thank you very much for telling us. Alrighty. Yeah. My last question then, which usually goes at the end, but Sandra's on one today. This has nothing to do with supernatural or probably anything that you're expecting, really. What is your favorite dinosaur? There's that silence again. I love it. I get silence every time.
So I love this question. My favorite dinosaur is Pachycephalosaurus. I love the name. I just love saying the name Pachycephalosaurus. I just think it's a cool name. I just showed my children Jurassic Park, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And I was waiting until I was pretty sure it wouldn't scar them for life because it's scary. And I saw it in the theater when I was little and it was scary. But they loved it. So big dinosaur fans around here.
Aw,
I love
good.
that. That is a great dinosaur choice as well.
I'll have to look
I
that
didn't-
one up. Yeah.
I didn't totally have to look it up. No, I did. I did have to look it up. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, I know what that dinosaur is. Like I knew it. I just didn't know
Okay.
that was what it was called. It's
Okay.
the one with the headbutty one.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
it
so
got a
you
little
do
bit of
know.
a skull? Like is it like looks like it's
Yeah.
flattened out
Yeah.
a little bit? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
You do know. You do
Okay.
know.
Okay.
Just know, apparently nobody knows what it's called. That's a great answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
One day I am going to go
Cephalosaurus.
and make a fucking list. I'm going to make a
Yeah.
table.
You got to go all the way back
Yeah.
and listen to.
Yeah,
There's a lot
gotta
to
go all
listen
the
to
way
now.
back.
We got to get started on that.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll put that on the to-do list because we've got a lot of to-dos
That's
to
great.
get through. I wanted to go through just a couple that I've sort of like read fics of yours that I just kind of wanted to like pop out there in case anybody, hasn't read your stuff, like stuff that I enjoyed. Of course, at the forefront, Leaving Las Vegas. And it's Sam and Dean take an impromptu trip to Vegas. Their plan for stakes, shots, and slots take a turn when an encounter with a hypnotist takes away their memory of each other. And they assume that Sam and Dean Winchester must be married. Again, love this. It was like total, like so much misunderstanding, amnesia. And I realized I'm big on like putting people into like a coma and then they come out. Like, don't know what's going on. So I feel like this is kind of like along that lines, but I love that they both had it in like these series of events, but then it leads to a happy ever after. And I know that just seems like your goal in all of your fics. I just find that to be really important. But like the cringe part of it, like waiting for them to like get the fallout, I'm just like, oh gosh, how bad is this going to go? And then Dean acts very appropriately as Dean would, very guilty, very shameful. And then Sam's, I think, the one that's kind of like taking the time to really think about the situation, coming to the like, well, why don't, like all, again, this like, it's very genuine, I think, in terms of the characterization. So I really love that one. I think that one's just going to be like my favorite one. One that I don't think Kasey might not like because it's very angsty and it relates to
I saw the summary.
their favorite show, their favorite episode, which is Mystery Spot. And it's after Mystery Spot, Sam asked Dean for one night, just this once. And the fic is called Just This Once. And it's very angsty. It's very sad, but it's also very like they take a shot and they kind of go for it. And it's a happy ending, and again, but it does go through all the things that Sam went through.
Yeah.
But also in a very condensed way. Like it's very succinct and it's short and it kind of like it hits a lot of notes. I felt like
Mystery Spot is one of those episodes of the show where I'm just like, Sam's trauma is like so overwhelming that I just can't deal with it. And so
again, Kasey understands. I was like, I always focus on the really fun bits in the first half.
No, that is the most upsetting episode. I mean,
I feel so seen.
Does he even
there's your Tyler
Dean
Durden
that he,
right there.
Had to experience 6 months alone without him. I mean, it's just a nightmare. And
also he never talks about it.
Deals with it. I know.
Yep.
No.
Never talks about it.
That one is a little angstier, but you're right. I do like. I would say 98% of fics have a happy ending because that's what I like to read, and that's what I gravitate towards romance fiction for is that happy ending. I want that happy ending, which is also why a lot of my fics are post 1519, pre 1520, because like you can choose to believe that doesn't happen the way it happened on the show if you want to, and I usually do. Although because I just think I will never get over what they did to Sam in the finale. It's very painful. And so I usually I have some fics where I deal with that too. But
we have similar experiences and feelings about that episode that don't go over very well all the time. So we'll just start there.
Okay.
Yeah. The other one was Be My Brother Tonight. And this is when this is Dean. When a girl he picks up at a bar wants him to pretend to be her brother during sex, Dean begins to explore his incest kink, which leads to significant consequences once Sam comes back on the hunt with him. The whole exploration was just very hot, like from the get-go. Like when the brain clicks.
Good. I'm glad you think so.
Yeah. When Dean's like, huh? I was just like, okay, here we go. It was I liked all of it. And then again, at the end, the whole revelation, Dean and Sam feeling the same way. And if they just communicated a little bit quicker about things, I just really liked it. I thought it was I really liked the Ray character in that. And how Dean kind of how he goes about figuring out what he likes, doesn't like, and what's the through line, and then figuring out, no, it is indeed Sam, and then we got to make sure they don't, it's all very misunderstandings, and then, keeping something a secret. And then, all of that stuff was just really good. I really liked that one a lot.
Thanks.
Cabin for Two.
What about a timestamp for that?
Oh, you are going to do that?
I want to write a timestamp for Be My Brother Tonight. Yeah, okay. I have it all very clear in my head. I haven't had time to write it yet.
Okay, good. Well, we'll look forward to it. The other one,
we look forward to it. Yeah,
was you said it was your first one that you'd written, Cabin for Two. Dean and Sam take a few days off at Christmas, pining Sam and eventual kissing. There's it's just so very comfy and cozy. And Sam trying to figure out, this is from Sam's POV. So Sam trying to figure out why Dean's doing the things that he's doing and different things like that. And then again, happy ending. And there's kissing and stuff like that, but there's not anything major happening. But I love the build up to that, Yeah, I really
had to warm up to writing Sam and Dean sex, because I think I was just kind of wrapping my head around the pairing.
Yeah.
So those early fics are interesting. It's so interesting to kind of track your own evolution with a pairing over the years.
Yeah, I think Kasey can attest to that too. Their journey. My last one, of course, was the threesome, because once I saw that, I was like, you had me at Winchester Sandwich Fantasies. So it's not a diary, it's a journal. And summary, what happens when Dean and Sam read about the reader's fantasies about them in a hunter's journal. It's very short. It's very, very hot. Very let's get down to business. Dean cracks open that. Oh, look at this. Oh, wow. I didn't know about this. And it's boom. Liked it. It was very, very good. If you ever decide to dip your toe into there again, I'll be all for reading anything like that. If you ever decide that that's another thing you want to do really quick and short.
And I will shamelessly self-promote that if Winchester sandwiches are maybe kind of your jam, I wrote one, and that's what it's called.
I think I've read that. It's very good.
Thank you. Shameless self-promotion.
So Lemons, I guess I kind of wanted to ask before we wrap it up. First, thank you, because you took a lot of time out with us today to chat, and I've thoroughly enjoyed discussing I always want to say the P word, and then Kasey's going to laugh, but your process and,
it's not that, it's the way you say it. If you say process, that won't happen. Say it properly.
Your process.
Go be with your process.
But I liked really getting a chance to talk to you more about that. And then, the Wincest Big Bang, you are not alone. We are kind of struggling in different ways at different times with getting words on notes. Paper and
endlessly.
I mean, are you kind of at the point where you've got a schedule for yourself in mind that you want to get it done before deadlines, or are you because I feel like August is coming up, and I know my artist is I probably won't look at it until beginning or middle of August anyway. So that kind of gives me, sort of a time to get it close to done. So I don't know if that's kind of how you're trying to schedule, in your brain.
I definitely, I wrote a bunch a while ago, and then I got stuck because I was trying to figure out how to keep the tension. It's another amnesia fic. Spoiler.
Okay. Yay.
So there's and it's from Dean's POV. So I had like very specific things I wanted to do with it, and I wrote a bunch, but then I got stuck, and so I have just started getting back into it. But I definitely need to have it done by the time I go to the Austin Con in August.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say too, are you
So-
going to try to like, okay, if you want to have like the most amazing luck with stuff happening, find Jessica and just absorb a little bit of the mojo that they have
Okay.
at a convention, and magical things might occur. I'm just saying, it's just a thing. When you
Okay.
listen, if you listen to any of her interviews with us,
Oh yeah,
a lot of stuff seems to occur.
That's cool.
Yeah, just find her and befriend her and be like, hi, people seem to appear around you, so I'm just gonna hang out and like maybe I'll find Jared, you know?
Well, to go back to when we were talking about cons, of course I said, "Oh, it'll be a once in a lifetime thing," and then I got home and I was immediately like, "When's the next one I can go to?" So, so I've been to New Jersey twice for just a day because it's so much cheaper to go just for like one day.
Yeah. Were you at the one where Jared wasn't?
Yes, I went, but only on Saturday.
Okay.
So I didn't even bother
one.
to go on Sunday because I was like, Jared's not going to be there. So there's no point. So I went on Saturday, which was actually super fun. I had a great time just going for the day, and it was much, much more low key. And I did that again this year. And then I was like, well, Austin's another city I've always wanted to go to. And then it's my birthday week, and, want to see everybody again. So
nice.
So I'm going to Austin, and I'm also seeing Radio Company again, which is like so exciting. And so I'm actually going to meet some real life, like some friends online in real life there.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Too, because a bunch of people are going to Austin. So I think it's going to be a good time.
Good. Well, we can't wait to hear all about it in the Discord. Make sure you pop in like all the stuff that's going on.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Yes.
That's awesome for you. I'm glad that you're getting to enjoy your birthday week too. Are you doing a baby photo op?
I'm doing a baby photo op, yes, because it's Jared's baby.
I was
going to say that is the coolest thing ever.
That seems important.
I'm so excited.
Okay.
So I'm definitely doing a Jared like a photo op with Jared's baby. I don't think they have made any J2 baby ops available.
It might come out. Keep an eye out because it might happen. Yeah, they might decide.
I don't have any J2 ops this time. I'm getting a photo with Lisa Berry, which I'm excited about, and Felicia Day.
Oh yeah, I so want to meet her, and it's like she's never at the ones that
I know.
She's in the UK this year. Sorry, guys. She's either in Wales or Scotland later this year. She might even be in Liverpool again in November.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an East Coast thing that I just can't grab her for, but I'm like, my goodness, because I know I think she was at Jersey. Was she at Jersey this year? But I didn't go to that one because
I was there
because it was too far up. Like for me, it's like even though the hotel sucked that we went to back in like 2020, it was 2021, 2022. I can't remember, but wherever we were at in New Jersey, it was like perfect in terms of like a driving distance for my husband and I, and we still stayed at a hotel. The hotel wasn't that great, but it was a little bit more doable. It wasn't, it wasn't in the area where it's like, it says it's New Jersey, but it's really kind of New York, and it's kind of expensive to stay. And it's just like, I can't do that. I can't do that. So
I just went in and out in a day. I didn't stay. So that makes it a little easier.
Yeah. I'm doing DC this year. And then next year I've already got my Jensen photo op for the Philly one. I'm just waiting for the tickets to come out that aren't as expensive. So
cool.
Yeah. So
Philly is more doable for me too. I don't even know, when is that?
That is I think it's October of next year. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you both go, we could have a live meetup.
We could.
Sandra's got a little TikTok mic.
Yeah, I haven't gotten one yet, but I'm going to get one because I want to get one. I want to get one just in case for like, especially for like DC, in case like I'm able to do something there. I don't know. It really just depends. I say things, but then my introvert takes over. And it's like no, but we'll see. I'm hoping this one's a little bit more where I'm kind of like out there chatting and stuff like that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Nice.
But I think that's,
Nice.
yeah, I hope you'll share your
I will.
experience and everything like that. And yes, please send us the picture, Kasey and I.
Yes,
You and
please.
Sharon and Jensen.
Okay.
Because I want to
Okay.
reference it with mine and see like height wise, like are they doing pretty much like the same thing in terms of like Jensen kind of hovering over the two sandwiched people, which I think is very cute situation.
Yes.
But I wanted to say before we say goodbye, again, like really want to thank you and ask you if you have any words of wisdom for fellow fanfic writers, if they're having a hard time or like, maybe they haven't gotten into it, maybe they're thinking about it. Like, what would you say to them if they're having a rough go and they're trying to work on a Wincest Big Bang or something else they're trying to get done?
Not to get too specific.
Yeah. What would you give them as sort of like a little piece of advice when it comes to writing?
I would say try to find something in the piece that really excites you. So what about the story or idea that you originally had excited you, and really just double down on that. So if there's one little spark that you can fan into a bigger flame that'll help you get words on the page, just focus on that. And I always go back to tropes in all of my writing. If I am stuck or if I don't know what to write, I ask myself, what is the trope that I'm writing? And we're all writing tropes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what genre you're writing, what kind of story you're writing. And I use the trope to say, okay, so if I'm writing a misunderstanding trope, then I have to have a part where they're having a conversation and one person thinks the conversation is about one thing and the other person thinks the conversation is about another thing. And I can write that. And that is like, oh yeah, I need to write that scene and it's going to be fun. And, and that helps me get through the story.
Okay. That's awesome. That's
very
good.
Awesome.
Very good advice. Very good advice.
Thanks for having me. I really love your podcast. I think it's a really bright light in the fandom, and the Discord's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And I love podcasts. And actually, I've always wanted to be on a podcast. And this is the first podcast I've ever been on. And so you are making a dream come true for me, which is awesome. Really so nice. So
you did a lovely job. You did a lovely job.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, absolutely.
I hope maybe someday the stars align. We can meet up in person. That would be fun.
That would be fun. I'm
cute.
hoping that'll be a thing. Kasey and I have talked about that a lot too. And, I figure we'll have to wait and see, but I think it's a thing that would happen. And it seems like the conventions are one of the best places, to kind of get a chance to meet everybody who's as crazy and weird and loving on the boys as we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's such a good,
it's a special thing.
Good energy, right? Like, it's just like,
totally,
you really need it, and it makes you feel like, okay, I can just go crazy about this thing. And everybody here understands it. And they're not going to look at me like I got 5 heads. We're all on board. We're all on board with this stuff. So.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Lemons. I really, truly appreciate you coming on. We had a great time and hope we get to chat again with you soon.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us.
So feel free to
so much fun.
Feel free to exit whenever you want. If you need me to kick you out, I can kick you out. I won't report you to Zoom. Let me know.
I can go. That's fine. Have a great rest of your day. Is it Saturday? I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, it's Saturday.
It is
enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you've got some nice downtime planned.
Yes,
I'm going to work on my Big Bang Fic.
Yay!
Good luck.
Best of luck. Have a great weekend.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
That was so great. You got a Sam person.
Surprise Sam person.
I didn't ask. I didn't know.
Even better.
Yes.
That's even better.
Yes.
Look at that. See? That's the best. I'm so happy.
That's the best thing. That was good.
Best.
Oh,
yes.
I really enjoyed this conversation. I was so, like I said, I was so stoked when I saw that Lemons had said they were also a romance author. So to get the chance to talk about 2 things.
Big old hype.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to go through that, all of that, the process with Lemons. I'm not going to say it like, if you have me saying that now, that way.
Yeah, no, wherever you go in life, you're just going to have one random word.
Nobody's going to know what the heck I'm talking about. Like, what?
Process.
Okay.
Shapeshifter. That's your shapeshifter.
No, but I really liked finding out how she writes and where her inspiration comes from. And yes, how that can kind of like go back and forth between her original writing and how she does, it's a little bit, like I said, freer, in that way. But again, different because like somebody who doesn't necessarily write original fiction doesn't see that, coin flip of it, when it comes to writing. So I really did enjoy that a lot. And I'm glad we got to touch base that way because I know sometimes, people are a little like hesitant when we reach out to them, but yeah, she was on board. She was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Okay, yay. Good." But yeah, so I don't know, Kasey, what were your thoughts about the chat, especially about like the Sam part of it?
I love it. You know me. I'm always here for a Sam lover. But that was really lovely chat, and it was also really lovely to hear you get like so hyped and be like, "Oh my God, a person is I also self-published, and I've also done this, and oh my God, can we talk like not live?" That was fucking great. It's so good to like. I know we've talked about it like extensively and like the differences between what you do for your original fiction and what you do for your fanfic and stuff, and to sort of like to have that reinforced for you with somebody else who does it, that was the best.
Well, I'd love to find that balance too, like between it, like how to find, because I know I haven't really, I mean, I haven't written anything original in quite a while, and I feel like there's a niche happening, but I need to figure out, because I still want to write the fanfic. I still want to narrate. It's like, I'm still like working, sort of part-time-ish. It's like, how do you make all those things line up? And I always feel like I'm a pretty good scheduler, but then there's also for me so many hours in the day. And I feel like, how do I get that to work, kind of a situation? So
if I could lose the need for sleep, I would be so much happier. Not the ability to sleep. I still want to be able to take a nappy nap. But if I could just not get tired and not need to sleep, that would be
like
life.
soulless Sam. Like that would be great.
Better.
Yeah. Everything would just kind of work the way it needs to work.
No, that would just be, oh God, I get so much done.
Yeah.
there's only so many hours in a day. And when some of those hours are taken up with like outside work as well.
Yeah.
And then you're like, ugh.
Yeah. Plus you've got, everybody, like family is family in different
everybody's
got stuff. So it's got stuff going on that kind of like, so I guess being able to find that, but I don't think I found that. I don't have that spark to write something right now, original. And I think that's got to kind of come back. And then I might.
You've got to like grab an idea.
Yeah.
I know something's coming up that I think is going to help with that.
Yeah.
But no, like, and I have to set aside time to be like emotionally devastated by my children. I have to set time aside for that. You can't just be cutting about life, not having any time in the bank for when your child absolutely slaughters you.
You're going through a hard period right now. You're definitely going through the teen phase hardcore.
So old. How dare you?
Yeah,
how
there's
dare
a lot going on there. Yeah.
I'm not okay.
So let's get that out of the way so that then Kasey can focus on some of the stuff that they like to do. That would be nice, please and thank you.
Or somebody like give me the pill or whatever it is that means that I don't have the need for sleep.
Yeah.
The ability to sleep is really important, but the need would be, because then I could get my daytime shit done and then I would have nighttime to like do my stuff.
Yeah.
And that would be great.
Yeah. Well, on that note, as we try to figure out how we can get more time or pills that help alleviate all of these things that we need to do, we're going to wrap up this episode for now, but we want to thank Lemons for coming on and just chatting with us. It was really a fun time.
We had a blast.
Yes, but we also want to thank you for listening, and we want you to let us know what you thought of this episode. Email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. Comment on Spotify in the Q&A section. Leave a YouTube comment. Join our Discord and chat with fellow idlers like Lemons and us in real time. Check out our merch store, which is another fun way to show your support. You can find details for everything on our website. That's idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers and would love to have you along for the ride.
Don't forget, you can always support us for free by liking, commenting, and subscribing on YouTube and following, rating, and sharing on audio platforms. Engagement like that really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. As always, we have the causes that we support in the description. So from me, you have LGBTQ plus talking charities. From Sandra, you have mental health charities. There is also USA election information in the description. Keep yourself informed and up to date as November closes in. Remember, it's a jump to the left, not a step to the right. And as always, the main causes that we are championing, highlighting, spotlighting, any other adjective that means drawing attention to is World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. Both of these charities are on the ground, working in the Ukraine to help those still affected by Russia's unlawful invasion of the Ukraine, and in Gaza, which is in the crossfire of the war between Israel and Hamas. This is not political. It doesn't matter which side of these issues you stand on. We are coming from a purely humanitarian view here. There are people in the Ukraine and Gaza that are trapped, cut off from basic human rights like food, water, and shelter, and they're dying. They didn't ask for war, and we want to help the people risking their lives to help them. If you cannot or do not want to donate financially, that is absolutely fine. Just sharing the links around social media helps massively to keep these issues in the public eye and get people in need all the help that we can. So with that, we will say thank you to Lemons for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the back seat, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.